All right. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm Laura Ownby, and I'm a Platinum Leader with Young Living. Tonight, we are going to be talking about emotional wellness, and I think that most of us would probably agree that in today's society that it is terribly overlooked. And the thing is, we all have emotions, right? So why is it that our culture doesn't acknowledge it for what it is? Why is it that so often emotions and emotional wellness, mental wellness, are kind of just brushed under the rug? And a lot of times we're kind of given the impression that we should just suck it up or deal with it or chill out or calm down. But really, if you think about some of the sources of stress that we all encounter in day-to-day life, the symptoms that we have are pretty reasonable given the circumstances. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to take you through a little bit of the science behind what we're working with, and then I'm also going to share with you some essential oil tools that you're going to find really helpful in managing emotions. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not here to diagnose, treat, cure, or suggest that any of these products heal any sort of medical diagnoses. But I am going to share with you some ways that can kind of take the edge off of what you may be dealing with, just to make life a little bit easier to manage. So if we think about emotions overall, on a day-to-day basis, they can really run a range given different circumstances. And it might be that at the moment we're just managing ourselves, but it could also be that we're out and about and we're dealing with strangers, or maybe we're dealing with customers that we work with at a business, or maybe we have patients or students or children of our own. And they might be young children, or they might be teenagers and might have hormones that we're dealing with, and emotions can be triggered in a blink. Things can flare up really quickly. What we do know is that science shows a very direct correlation between emotions and the manifestation of physical symptoms and even physical disease. So there is a link between emotional health and the state of the physical body. So we want to make sure that we are really doing everything we can to support emotional wellness on a day-to-day basis, not only for emotional wellness and mental wellness, but for the sake of the physical body. So I want to first describe that I'm not at all suggesting that what I'll be talking about replaces medical treatment of a medical diagnosis. There are absolutely times and circumstances where all treatment options should be considered. And for example, 15 years ago, I was working in a job in which I was absolutely miserable. And it had become so unbearable that I had a hard time getting out of bed. I had a hard time functioning on a day-to-day basis. I wasn't thinking very clearly. I wasn't sleeping. I lost a ton of weight. And I had this crazy eye infection that just would not clear up. And I went to a doctor. It was a doc in the box. I never met him before. And he wrote a prescription for Lexapro. And as he is walking out the door, he turns around and he says to me, you know, sometimes stress is God's way of saying you need to change your circumstances. And he walked out. And at the time, I kind of wanted to throat punch him. And if y'all know me at all, you know that I'm a pretty calm and reserved person. But even 15 years later, I think, you know what? He had some really bad timing and probably needs a little more training. As you all have experienced, there are things in life that we can control and we can change those circumstances. And if that's the case, then we need to be proactive in doing that. But there's also other times where we can't control the circumstances. Or it might be something like the job that I was working in. I had to wait for that year to finish out so that I could transfer. Now, as it turned out, I did interview the very next month, and I turned to a different position, and I absolutely loved that job. And in fact, I'm still friends with those teachers and students that I worked with 15 years later. I'm still close friends with a lot of them. And it went from a point where I could not hardly get out of bed to I absolutely loved this work. And I very gradually weaned off the Lexapro, and the circumstance I had been dealing with was very much over, and that treatment was no longer needed, and everything was fine. So I would just urge you that at the time I had no other options. I was not aware of any other options. And I certainly could have used a bottle of Stress Away to huff during that time, but I didn't have it then. And so I'm not here to judge any treatments that may or may not be used. I encourage you to seek out all the help that you can if you're really struggling. I'm going to challenge you to think about emotions differently than what you may have thought of them previously. And I'm going to share with you a lot of tools over the next 30 days, some nutritional changes, changes in the environment, and some different strategies that you may not have tried in the past. And these are things that I've used over time that I have found to really be helpful. To give you a little bit of an idea of where I'm coming out right now in teaching this type of series. So in the last 5 years, I had my 4th child, and she was the 4th in 6 years. So I had all these little children. I was home and homeschooling all of them. And those were really long days. The saying, the years are short, but the days are long. That's exactly what it was. And so there were all kinds of emotions associated with that on a day-to-day basis. I lost my dear grandmother, who I was extremely close to. I've built a multi-million-dollar business from the ground up. So there's just been a lot. And that doesn't even count the fact that I've battled a cancer that really took away my ability to communicate for a significant amount of time. So, those are a lot of emotions to be dealing with. And to be quite honest with you, if anyone had asked me in the last 4 to 5 years to teach this type of course, I would have said, absolutely not. I'm not in the state of mind to do this. But right now, thank goodness, life is feeling good. I'm feeling really good. And I feel like this is a very timely subject matter, specifically for 2 reasons. We are going into the holiday season, and holidays are really, really hard for those who have experienced traumas or loss during those times. And we're also in the United States, we're going into a winter season. And I know I struggle in winter. In Alabama, January and February are so gray and damp. I kind of just want to hole up in a bed and not come out for 2 months. And I know that the shorter days with less light can really have an effect on people. And so we just want to make sure that we are approaching this season emotionally well, and that we're setting some really good patterns and habits now, so that when those harder times come, we're kind of in a good routine, and that we're hitting it at a time where we feel strong. All right, so what I want to do first is, when you are in really difficult emotional challenges, it's really, really hard to see the forest for the trees. And you're probably dealing with some of the physical symptoms that I mentioned I had been dealing with, and it's hard to think real straight. And sometimes when we're in those times, we don't even show ourselves very much grace for it. So what I want us to do is take a few minutes to watch a really good physical description of what happens in these emotional times. And what I'm going to show you, for the most part, is normal stuff. It's stuff that we're all going to encounter at some point in life. And we're going to take a look at that, and then we're going to take a look at how that physically manifests with symptoms. So y'all bear with me as we get the screen share going here. Y'all watch This Is Us. It's so good. So good. Okay, here we go. Oh man, let's just take a moment for Sterling Brown. He is my favorite character, Randall. Here we go. This is good.
I want to split your account between you and Sanjay.
The medication isn't working anymore. I don't want to do this to you.
I can take it. Do you want to stop the chemo, William?
Why is there a photo of me and a letter that you sent to William's
Randall,
brother?
you have to understand.
Understand what? That you knew my father? You kept him from me my entire life.
Everything that I...
Just stop!
doing? You all right?
Yeah. Just pushed it a little too hard.
All right. You make this run every day, Ram. You getting soft on me? Huh? Old man, you getting soft on me?
Yeah, right. Last one on me. It's the protein shake.
Yeah, all right.
Anticipate over the next 6 months returns on your investment of 17%.
Baby,
Yeah.
you missed the button.
Oops. We got these video calls with 30 of our top clients tomorrow to go over quarterly earnings. And I was up late with William last night, so I haven't had a chance to go over the numbers.
I told you Jesse offered to cancel his trip to Chicago.
And I already told you that you're not staying with Jesse. It's fine.
It's my sweater. I want to wear it. But you promised I could.
Girls, please, will you give your sister back her dividends?
Huh?
Hey, sit down and eat your breakfast. Hey, Lisa, what's up?
Give it to me. It's mine. I didn't say you could have
What?
it. Yes, you did. I'm not taking
Hey,
it.
girls, please. Shh, I can't hear you around Lisa.
I got
Just
you.
Randall, I can wash one
Okay, but
dish.
they said she's going to be all right, right?
So who's going to be all right?
Spill something on it. Will not. Will not.
Girls, hey, please. Your mother's on the phone.
Really? Okay. I'm fine. I'm all right. I'm right.
My mother slipped and fell on her way to the bathroom last night.
No.
Is she okay?
I think she'll be okay. She broke her hip. I have to go down to DC.
Of course.
It's the worst timing.
Hey, don't you worry about me.
And Kevin's plays tonight.
It's fine. Hey, we'll figure it out.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay, I'm going to go pack a bag.
Okay. I'm going to call the service and send a nurse over.
I don't need a nurse.
Yes, you do. End of discussion. Tess, go get dressed.
But
Also, end of discussion.
Grandma, be okay.
Of course, baby. Everything's going to be just fine.
Okay. So when we look at Randall's situation, everything that he's encountered, other than perhaps the betrayal by, or the perceived betrayal by his mother, those are all normal things. Caring for an elderly parent, taking care of little ones, working at a demanding job for an employer who's a jerk. All of those things happen. That's a normal part of life. But look at how this manifests.
I-O-U-A-E-I-O-U-A-E-I-O. You're gonna bomb it, dude. You're gonna bomb it. It's fine.
Right, of course. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to make it tonight, man. I got caught up at the office.
Come on, are you serious?
I really wish I could be there. It's just one of those things, you know?
Yeah. Sort of known about this for a long time, though.
That's right.
All right. Whatever. You'll see it eventually. Right? Right?
Okay, then.
Okay, everyone, place.
Can anybody relate? So I think that a lot of times that today's world would look at that and diagnose it as a nervous breakdown or some sort of anxiety disorder. And that may be the case. But I think that if we look at that situation objectively, and even if we consider ourselves in that position, that the physical symptoms are absolutely on par with the amount of stress and the emotional challenges that he was facing. And specifically, if we look at what physical symptoms presented, there's shaking, blurred vision, out of character behavior, the inability to think straight, and in fact, a complete shutdown and the inability to function. And that is based on emotion. All of that was emotionally charged. So our emotional health has to be a top priority. These physical symptoms that Randall showed, or that we may have at times, they are very real. That heart racing, the feeling of breathlessness or being short of breath, the inability to function, those are very real physical symptoms, and they should be monitored by a healthcare practitioner. But there are other tools that we have to help during that time as well. And they are specifically based on the sense of smell. And that sounds so totally crazy, but let me describe to you how the sense of smell works. In comparison to all senses, memories and emotions are most directly related to the sense of smell. Both vision, sound, they're more closely related to smell. And if you doubt that for a second, let me give you just one example. So who shops at Costco? Anybody? So Costco has this amazing organic strawberry jelly. And the first time I bought it, I opened that lid and it immediately smelled just like my grandmother's homemade strawberry jelly. And in an instant, I was transported back to her tiny kitchen with a wooden spoon in my hand, stirring that strawberry jelly during those 2 minutes where you cannot stop stirring the jelly or it will ruin the whole batch. And I could picture myself. And y'all, she passed away when I was 13. And it was that instantaneous and that powerful of a memory was brought back just on one smell. The sense of smell is strong. And when we are dealing with emotions and things that sometimes we can't control at all, we have to use every resource that we have at hand. And that includes the sense of smell. So specifically, we're talking about how we can use essential oils. During the next 30 days, we are going to talk about lots of different tools and strategies and, like I said, nutritional changes that can help to support emotional wellness. The foundation of the next 30 days is going to be based on the Young Living Feelings Kit. And there are 6 oils in here that we're going to use twice a day, every day for the next 30 days. Before we get into how to actually use the oils, I want to describe a little bit about why they actually work. So I realized that when I describe the feeling that I had when I smelled that strawberry jelly, that it's easy to hear those words and think, good grief, this girl is just dreamy-eyed, crunchy, and she wants to be one with the earth. And y'all, I'm not going to deny any of that, but I'm going to share with you the science behind why it's really accurate and why it works too. So essential oils are plants, and plants are simple elements that are in nature. So they are your carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and we're going back to high school chemistry. So bear with me for a couple minutes here. Now, what happens is essential oils release an aroma, and those aromas are chemical signals. Now, when we say chemicals, we are talking about pure, God-made plant chemicals. We're not talking about man-made synthetics that the body doesn't identify or know what to do with. We're actually talking about pure substance. So these chemical signals go into the nose, and they travel up to the sinus cavity where there are nerves. And those nerves have protein receptors. And what happens is on those cells, there are little receptor sites. And there are proteins in the essential oil molecules, in those chemical molecules, and it's kind of like a lock and key. When the correct protein finds its binding site, it goes right in and opens up the channel in that cell. When that cell opens, the aroma, the chemical messenger, the chemical molecule travels through the channel, and when it does that, it's bringing in those elements that the plant is made of. So those are things like calcium, potassium, and those are positively charged ions, right? So you think back to chemistry in the periodic table, remember how you had to learn that calcium's like +2 and so on. So those ions, when they go through the cell, they are actually converting from a chemical message to an electric message, and that goes into the nerve. The nerve sends that signal up to the brain, and it specifically sends the signal to the limbic part of the brain. And this is where it's really, really amazing, y'all. The limbic system in the body is responsible for some really, really important functions. It's responsible for memories, and that includes past memories as well as the creation of new memories. It's responsible for emotions and emotional regulation. It's responsible for things like the feeling of hunger and thirst, for libido, for heart rate, for respiration, for aggression and the trigger for aggression. The limbic system manages all of that. And so as you can imagine, if we are able to use those specific fragrances, the specific essential oils, to calm down whatever is overactive, or to stimulate what is really kind of dull and not working very strongly, then we're able to help the body to work at its best. Now, what's really, really amazing about essential oils is not that they heal, treat, or cure specific issues. But what's amazing is that they support the body in allowing the body to work at its best and allow the body to heal itself. Because at a very fundamental level, the human body is designed to heal and restore itself over time. That's how the species is designed to survive. So if we're able to use essential oils to support the body in working properly, then not only are we going to emotionally feel better throughout the day, then we are going to have a lot of those physical manifestations of symptoms. Now, like I said, this does not replace any other treatment. This is a tool, and these are strategies that you can be using to support the body on a daily basis. Okay, now all of this said so far, it makes you realize, wow, essential oils are really kind of powerful. Should I be afraid of these things? They are powerful, and they are capable of doing amazing work in the body. And this is why it's really important that you are learning how to use them safely and effectively, that you are doing some research, that you are in touch with people who can help you and guide you with where to find research, and that you're not cutting corners with getting cheap oils. Y'all, the oil that's on the shelf at Walmart is going to pull synthetic chemicals through that same cell where we were just putting a pure molecule with Young Living oils. Young Living is the only brand of essential oil that I use in my family. It's the only brand that I would ever suggest to someone I care about. I've been to the farms. I see how the plants are grown, how the plants are distilled, and they are pure and they are the gold standard. And so when we are talking about crossing that blood-brain barrier, I want the best for my family and for you all. And so that's why we're only using Young Living. If these essential oils have the type of power that we're talking about, this is not the time to cut corners. Okay, so here we go. How do we actually get started with this? So we're going to jump right in, y'all. And I'm going to admit that I'm very much the kind of person, just tell me what to do, make it easy, give me action steps, and I will do it. But don't just throw something out there abstract and let me have to figure it out on my own. So we are going to jump into this 30 days, and I have several different topics that I'm going to share with you over the course of the 30 days. And in the Drop Stop Facebook group, we're going to have some accountability and some graphics that will help you along the way. But we're going to go ahead and start with our protocol tonight. And this is a basic protocol that anyone can use and that you can even do for your children. So these are the 6 oils in the Feelings Kit. And let me pull up, I got a little graphic for you. Okay. So what we're going to do here, all right. All right, I'm going to trust that everybody can see this graphic. When I do full screen share, I can't see anybody, so I can't get any signaling back. All right, so what we need to do, there are 2 oils that we're going to start with every day. Forgiveness and harmony. Okay, now we're going to use essential oils, y'all, with the idea of affirmations. Have y'all ever used affirmation where you verbally speak life over yourself? So I know this is another thing that may be really far-fetched for some of y'all. Okay, so affirmation is no different than a loving parent who speaks life over their children. So when a parent chooses to discipline or to train a child by using phrases like, "You are so kind. I'm so proud of you for being loving to everyone. I'm so proud of you for being a friend to your entire class. I'm so thankful that you include everybody." That is speaking life and goodness over that child. And that child believes all of those things about himself. And it makes it really easy to step up and be all of that and to believe that there is goodness to be found. But if a parent speaks things that aren't so nice over that child, that can be effective too. And so a parent who is saying, "That's mean, you're naughty, that's really bad behavior, you were a bad kid today," you know what? That child starts to believe that too. And that is a ticket for continuing bad behavior. Now, in terms of ourselves, if you think about it, you live with you more than you live with anybody else on the rest of the earth. You are with you all the time. And so it's really important that you are speaking love and light and life over yourself, and that negative thoughts are a huge part of emotional wellness. So when we're using these essential oils, y'all, we are going to use verbal affirmations, and together we are actually going to retrain the brain so that at the end of the 30 days, we're going to feel better, okay? So specifically, and y'all, all of these affirmations that I've written are based on scripture references that are repeated over and over and over. And I have some graphics that point out some specific references to each affirmation. But y'all, I'm telling you, the affirmations that we're using are used repeatedly in scripture. So for forgiveness and harmony, and I realize some of you watching may have never used oils before, you're just going to take a drop and we're going to put, oh gosh, I'm out of forgiveness. Okay, we're going to have to fix that. All right, so you're going to take a drop of forgiveness oil. You're going to rub your hands together. And you're going to take a couple of deep breaths. And yes, I'm 4.5 years into doing this, and every time I do it, I still think of Saturday Night Live cheerleaders. And you're going to rub this oil over your heart. You do not want your heart harboring unforgiveness. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for harmony. It just takes a drop. You're going to breathe deeply. You're going to do this morning and night. And I know this may feel really weird at first, especially when you're speaking affirmation over yourself. You're going to think, why am I doing this? Do it anyway. Okay. And you're going to say, I'm loving and kind. I'm worthy of love. At least twice a day, we're going to do this. Okay? Then we're going to pull out release oil. Y'all, I'm telling you, release is a good oil. Smells awesome. This is a new one. And man, okay, I'll be honest with you, if you have some days of tears coming, don't be surprised. It's okay. It just means we need to let that emotion go. And you're going to rub this oil over your liver. Your liver is under your right rib. And I know this sounds kind of weird, but the liver is known to harbor anger. And when you do this, you're going to say, I release all emotions and thoughts that do not serve me. It smells so good. Okay, next oil, inner child. Y'all see this is not taking real long. You're gonna put this one on your wrist. Just a drop, rub your wrist together. In this affirmation, you're going to say, I am valued and I have purpose. You're going to take valor. In the feelings kit, let's see valor 2. That's no longer available as a single, but we can get regular valor. Valor is one of my all-time favorite oils. You're going to put that on the back of your neck. Valor makes me feel like I'm on my A game, like I can handle anything. I use it a lot when I'm out working, or I have something that I'm feeling anxious or nervous about. We're going to put that on the back of the neck. You're going to say, I am strong, smart, and capable. Smells like blueberries. And the last one is present time. You're going to take a drop of this oil. You're going to rub this in the crown of your head. You're going to say, I'm at peace. Now I realize you may be saying these things and you don't believe them right now. That's okay. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. We're going to take 30 days to focus on emotional wellness. And we're going to work with these oils and let them do their job. And we're going to work with our thoughts and kind of work through some things like that. And don't be surprised if you have some big emotions that come up over the next month. But continue to stay on track, and let's see if we can get ourselves in a better emotional state, okay? So what if you don't have the feelings kit right now? Well, we have a couple other options. Y'all, essential oils are super duper versatile. And many of you have the starter kit. In the starter kit, if that's all that you have, I want you to take the stress away, lavender, and frankincense oil. Put a drop of each in your hands and inhale those oils and say the same affirmations. Do that twice a day, okay? Now, you can do this for your children. You can do this for elderly or those who aren't able to do it for themselves. You may find it easier to go ahead and mix up some roller bottles. If you are using these rollers for an adult, you might just dilute like 1 drop essential oil with 1 drop carrier oil. If you're doing this for your children, if you have children who have emotions that are in need of some support, I would dilute like 1 to 4, maybe even more so for little ones, and speak those same affirmations over the child. If they can say it themselves, teach them how to do it. But if they can't, if they're too little, if they're unable to, then say it for them, because they're going to hear that. The spoken word and spoken language is so powerful, y'all. All right, so let me pull up some of these graphics for you. I'm going to share this file in the drop stop, so it's available for you if you want to take pictures of it, or if you want to print it or copy it down for yourself, you'll have access to that. Oops. Let's see. Okay. So here's the general graphic for the exact affirmations and where you're applying all the oils. But then if we scroll through here, you're going to see the affirmation, I am loving and kind, I am worthy of love. Well, one scripture that indicates that that's a positive affirmation and one that we're commanded for ourselves is the scripture, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. For release, you shall not hate your brother in your heart, but you shall reason frankly with your neighbor, lest you incur sin because of him. You shall not take vengeance or bear grudge against your sons of your own people, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So these are all scriptures that point to the affirmation that we're going to be describing. I have that here for you. And then also, For those who do not yet have any of the oils, there are a couple options. If someone else has referred you to this class, go back to them for assistance. With Young Living, we are independent distributors, and the person that you initially enroll with, that's your person, forevermore, for life. So be sure that you pick a good one. If you don't have anyone that you're working with, I would love to help you. This is what I do full time, and I would love to help you learn to use the oils safely and effectively. You can click on my link here, and you want to select member. The member option has no obligations ever, but it gets you the wholesale pricing, so it's a 24% discount. A couple things that you might be interested in, there's a couple of different ways that you can go about this. You can get just a basic kit in the feelings kit that we're talking about tonight and order that, and it'll ship straight to you. Or if you're wanting to start oils just for overall wellness, emotions, as well as physical wellness, you may just want to order a premium starter kit with a diffuser. And that's where you would get the Stress Away lavender and frankincense. There's also other options. If you have questions, I'm happy to help you with that. And before we go to questions, I want to share with you a few of the topics that we're going to be discussing over the next 30 days. You'll see next Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the link between emotions and the body. Oftentimes we see that specific emotions can create flares in different organs in the body. And there's a whole study and science behind that. And we're going to talk about physical and environmental crap that wreck emotions. And those are things that we can actually control usually. We're going to talk about how we can control that stuff to help our emotional wellness. We're going to talk about how our mindset and what we believe to be true can really affect emotions. We're going to talk about the importance of relationship, community, and trust, and what we can do to support those. We're going to discuss the value of quiet and solitude. Scarcity mindset. Woo, this is going to be a big one, y'all. Scarcity. I have found that most of us have some scarcity mindset, even if we don't want to believe it. It's there, and we're going to hunt it down and talk about how it can really screw you over and how to fix that. My wonderful friend Jen Cuddy is going to do a session on aroma freedom technique, and I'm so excited to see that. She's amazing. And we're also going to talk about oils for times of crisis. And again, y'all, this does not replace getting professional medical care or assistance, but these are some tools that can be used when there are things that we can't necessarily control. Alrighty, I'm going to stop the screen share here. Okay, y'all, what kinds of questions or comments can we talk about? All right, I tell you what, I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to try to get this made into a playback link. Y'all keep your fingers crossed. I never know for sure if this is going to work. If it doesn't, then I'll just re-record it by myself. But I'll get a playback link for you, and I will post that over in the drop stop, and I'll also post the graphics link, and we can continue any discussion over there. Okay? I really appreciate y'all watching with me tonight, and I love y'all, and I wish you a good evening of rest. Y'all take care.